So before we talk about this past Friday night's, well, this last night's, where we're at in this time warp, Smackdown, the one for February 10th, the big one, the big bloodline blowout show from last week. We've been talking about the trend lately, it seems, is for wrestling programs to lose their audience the longer they go on. They tend to wear on people, apparently, and drive them away. But in this case, probably due to the bloodline, that trend was broken. And again, this thing's hot, and the WWE now is again doing some TV numbers. The 30th anniversary Raw. But do you have because I can't read the fine print on this fucking thing. I can follow the big numbers, but do you have the February 3rd SmackDown ratings in front of you? You should. You sent them to me.
I have to pull that up, but give me a second.
Well, pull on that for a minute. See if you can get some blood in it.
Ow!
Yeah. Oh, there. Oh, see, you need to use that thing every once in a while. It gets sore then if it's called into service.
Why'd you tell me to pull on it?
Well, I didn't mean yank.
Fuck.
But anyway, while you're pulling those numbers, or whatever it is you're yanking, again, the SmackDown on February 3rd is what we're talking about before we discuss what they followed it up with. And boy, that'll teach those people to tune in on the 3rd if they came back this week with what they followed it up with. But anyway, have you pulled enough yet?
I got the quarter hours. I'm trying to find the overall number, actually. I don't have that in front of me. Does that answer your question?
Well, no, we're talking about the quarters.
Okay, I have the quarter hours.
That's what we're talking. We're talking about the quarters.
Well,
We ain't talking about the dollars.
I have them right here.
We'll talk about dollar in a minute. But yes, the trend was very. Actually, they hardly ever through the program lost anybody, and they gained at the end. Go ahead, tell me what they did.
These were compiled by Brandon Thurston at WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m., which is a recap of everything happening with the Bloodline, as well as Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus Imperium. 2,385,000 viewers.
And that ain't bad.
And that continues into quarter 2, which is more of Strowman and Ricochet versus Imperium. 8:15 to 8:30. 2,390,000 viewers.
They actually got 5,000 extra people as a result of whatever they did in the first part of the fucking match. But I mean, again,
they had a competitive match. That's what they did.
Well, yeah, we've been following the AEW numbers so we're just used to that massive drop after the first 15 minutes but these people are not big bangers. They didn't just hang out because of the big bang that was on in front of them. This is actually network television, and they came there apparently on purpose. Continue.
Quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m., which is the Charlotte Flair, Sonya Deville backstage angle, as well as Rey Mysterio and Judgment Day. I think it's the NASCAR video they did. 2,347,000 viewers.
So they dropped 43,000, which at this level of viewership is about, what, 5%?
Well, quarter 4, Charlotte Flair versus Sonya Deville, and a Cody Rhodes video, 8:45 to 9 p.m., 2,413,000 viewers.
So while their girls' matches are going on, at least if it's Charlotte in this case, they pick up viewer, in that case, 53, 60, about almost 70,000.
You know, you say even if it is Charlotte, not that Sonya's been used well or anything, but is there anyone in AEW on the women's roster that's been used as well as Sonya has been used in WWE?
No. No. Well, and also, when you look at Sonya's matches, you know, she's better than 90% of the AEW women's roster. It's just that she's not at the in-ring at the top level of the WWE women's, but she'd own the AEW women's roster. So again, we're talking about grading on this curve or whatever.
Well, let's go back to this curve here. Quarter 5, 9 to 9:15 p.m., the big 9 o'clock hour. which is the Bloodline backstage angle into the Viking Raiders versus the Brawling Brutes, 2,385,000 viewers.
And again, they lost less than 30,000 viewers over the top of the 9 o'clock hour. And at that, 30,000 out of almost 2.5 million, that's normal fluctuation of people taking a piss at that point.
You know, we did Raw ratings last time, this time SmackDown, and it's a little different because we can kind of compare it, even though it's very different. It's a very different animal. We can compare it a little better to AEW Dynamite's 2-hour show. We're about to get to quarter 6. This is usually where things start going down and you kind of have to hope they recover for AEW. But here, let's compare it. 9:15 to 9:30 p.m., which is 6 minutes of the Viking Raiders versus the Brawling Brutes. And whatever that post-match was, I don't remember, with Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, 2 million.
Oh, yeah, I remember it was, oh God, that was the whole deal where they were out and bashing each other off of the railings and etc. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
2,282,000 viewers.
And that's a drop of 103,000, which is the biggest drop so far in the program, and that's the lowest viewership of the program yet, and they are still only 103,000 down from the start of the program, which is, again, like 5% of this number.
Quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m., which is a women's four-way featuring Natalya versus Zelina Vega versus Shayna Baszler versus Shotzi, who has no last name anymore, as well as a Bloodline backstage angle, 2,285,000 viewers.
They even picked up 3,000 people on that ladies four-way, I guess, in anticipation of what was going to happen at the end of the show with the Bloodline.
Quarter 8.
Again, no change.
Quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. Roman Reigns, I think he did a live promo and Sammy attacked him. That's what it was. So the big angle with the Bloodline. 2,588,000 viewers.
They picked up 300,000 people for the last 15 minutes of the program, and that was at 9:45 to 10 o'clock Eastern, was the highest rated segment of the show by over 200,000 people. That's tremendous.
There's a lot to try to figure out about that. You think, people were just hovering around the episode waiting for the big thing? Everyone wanted to know. This is the first SmackDown after the Royal Rumble. Everyone kind of wanted to see what was going to happen with the Bloodline. What do you think what do you think causes this number? Is it just star power? Is it anticipation for what's next? What is it?
I think that a little bit of all of that, but basically they were interested in what was going to happen. This was the SmackDown after the Rumble. They wanted to know what was going to go on with this. And remember, when we say, okay, they gained 5,000 or they dropped 30,000 or they picked up 70,000 or whatever, those are not the exact same people. And again, television rating metrics, measuring yardsticks, whatever, it can't be exact because not everybody's being monitored. That's the government's job. But it is the formula that they've come up with now with their advanced computers and everybody that's wired in. It's not somebody sitting at home writing everything down in a fucking little booklet and sending it in for $1 like it was in the 70s. But people naturally change and go back and forth, or they call somebody or whatever, get on your telephone. And so the buzz over the course of this program from the people checking in and out had to be, we know Roman Reigns is there. This stuff is developing by the end of tonight. And they're smart enough now to the fucking SmackDown format that the main event is usually not a match, but that's the big interview segment and angle with the stars, that they were hiding out and waiting for it.
What do you think this says about what we have seen where, again, especially with AEW, just because we monitor those, this isn't the pick on AEW. You could probably use this example for WWE at times too. People dive off in the second hour and they don't come back. There's nothing that makes them say, I got to return to that show to see that main event or whatever it may be. Or maybe they say, I can wake up tomorrow and watch this on DVR or just go to YouTube. What do you think something like this still says about making people want to see something live so that they can't do that? They can't wait until tomorrow. They can't wait to go on YouTube an hour later or whatever it may be. They want to see it in the moment as it happens.
Yes, because they don't want it to get spoiled for them, or they don't want to, something's going to fuck up, or I won't be able to see it tomorrow. All right, they just want to know what's going to happen. And that's the way that, traditionally television viewing was before you could pick and choose the time that you could see everything and blah, blah, blah. And again, this is primetime network television or primetime television, 8 to 10 p.m. So you're not fighting sleep for the majority of the country at that point. When you start getting to 11, that's where you start at. That was the phrase they used to use in television, fighting sleep. That's why in the 80s, when Vince got the NBC deal, Saturday night's main event, that was 11:30 to 1 a.m. on Saturday night in the Saturday Night Live time slot, every couple months or whatever. That's why the main event would go on, be in the ring and happening before the midnight hour. They might do something. Sometimes it was first. They might do something to set it up first, or interviews or whatever. But Hulk Hogan or whatever the main event was going to go in the ring then. And then they had other feature matches to fill out the time. But by the time you got to 1 a.m, it was a fucking rib, because you had lost a significant portion of the audience. You're fighting sleep. And that was his formula for that. But at 8 to 10, if you've got a program where people are interested in what the fuck's going on with your main talent, but you format it correctly on a regular basis, there isn't a reason why you ought to lose viewers, because you're not fighting sleep. You're fighting in fucking difference at that point if you're losing viewers.
The one thing about the Attitude Era that I think does hold up in a sense is that it was a period of time where people couldn't wait to see what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
For one reason or another. So you saw, I'm sure if we evaluated those quarter hours right now, people just had to see what was going to happen next. When is Steve Austin going to show up on this episode? Whatever it may be.
It was the same with the Clash of Champions on TBS from the WCW days and from the Crockett days. The main event, whatever time period it's broadcast, would be the highest rated part of the program, because in those days, people, the formatting was such that people knew that the advertised main event was going to go on this show last, whatever time it was. They weren't going to, put it on, whether we did a couple of afternoon clashes, but a lot of them were 8 to 10, Eastern time. But they knew that Flair was going to be against whoever starting at 9:30. And the Greensboro match with Sting went from, 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 5:30. But they still had goddamn however many millions of people watching at the end, because they knew it was going to be on the main event. So it's somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy when you not only have main events that people don't really want to see, but you, in a lot of cases, give them a main event and then a fucking interview segment that they don't really care about. In this case, they did, but sometimes they don't, and that shows drop or whatever on the WWE side. Tony never gives us a main event interview segment because the only one of his guys could talk main event level would be MJF, and he'd be standing there talking to himself.
Tony never makes you wait till 9:45 to see what you've been waiting for all night. Whether that's good or bad, someone else could debate. But, seriously, usually you get something in the first segment or 9 o'clock. You're not going to get it at the very end, typically.
He gives you the blowjob first, and then you've still got to go to the movie and hold hands. Maybe that's why interest wanes.